Typhoon Ragasa, one of the strongest in years, battered Hong Kong and South China today after leaving deadly destruction in Taiwan and the Philippines. Janice Mackey-Freyer reports from Beijing.
Typhoon Ragasa, the most powerful tropical storm on Earth this year, hammered Hong Kong and southern China. With gusting winds at more than 120 miles per hour at times, it's been churning for days across the South China Sea. The sheer size of it captured from space and putting millions here in China on high alert. In Hong Kong, the rain was so heavy that seawater burst through the doors of a hotel lobby. Ragasa first hit the Philippines earlier this week, causing flooding and landslides, then crossed south of Taiwan, where a lake burst, causing massive and deadly flooding there. The military is now delivering aid. Ragasa then made landfall for a second time, hitting Guangdong province here in China, authorities taking no chances and evacuating more than 1 million people to shelters, according to state media. Experts say typhoons like this are getting stronger and more destructive every year because of warming seas and climate change. At one point, this typhoon was equivalent to a Category 5 hurricane. Ragasa is expected to weaken now as it moves toward Vietnam and Laos, still bringing a lot of rain and more destruction. But in Chinese megacities like Guangzhou and Shenzhen, the streets have been eerily empty as millions have been warned to stay inside and wait for the storm to pass. Janice Mackey-Freyer, NBC News, Beijing.
Well, as recognition of Palestinian state by several major Western countries at the UN General Assembly is sending ripple effects across the Middle East. President Trump criticized that decision while also addressing the assembly yesterday, calling it a reward to Hamas. Matt Bradley has more from Tel Aviv.
Well, it's been a crazy week of diplomacy, and all eyes here in the Middle East are on New York and the United Nations General Assembly, where we're seeing successive countries acknowledging statehood for Palestine, the so-called Palestinian state that many of these countries, including American and Western allies, are saying should and will constitute an actual sovereign entity that they will be legally obligated by their own laws to protect. Now, this is a major shift, and it shows a huge break from these nations, many of which are Western countries and are doing this for the first time, joining about 75% of UN member states in recognizing Palestine. But we also heard from President Trump last night. He gave a much anticipated speech to the UN General Assembly, joining other world leaders, in which he said that the fighting in the Gaza Strip must stop. He said that any acknowledgement or any basically saying that there was a Palestinian state was going to be a reward for Hamas and their terror attacks on October 7th. This echoing comments from the Israeli leadership, especially Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Now, all of these acknowledgements, all of these recognitions of a Palestinian state have landed with a massive thud here in Israel, where leaders from across the political spectrum have condemned these moves and again called them rewards for terrorism by Hamas. Again, this speech by President Trump, it was essentially a bragging about all of his accomplishments domestically and assailing over and over again the United Nations and the international community, the very body that he was addressing last night. Matt Bradley, NBC News, Tel Aviv.
We'll be right back.